Don't believe the hype.
Looking at that UGAS performance, and I have a feeling in the upcoming days there's going to be some damage control excuses, if you like, on that performance. You know what annoys me about British boxing fans is they don't defend British boxing enough. And I'm not talking from some bias standpoint on ridiculousness. But if Rob McCracken has sent out a boxer to perform as inadequately as UGAS, they'd have been calling for his head. Has anyone called for Ismail Salas's head? Nope. Probably because he's Cuban, he has to be a great coach, and there's no way he couldn't have give UGAS bad technical advice or a bad game plan. Derek James said that UGAS's nose and ribs were broken after the beating that Errol Spence gave him, and that's possible. I also wonder if he was injured going into the fight, which is no excuse. Doesn't matter, he could have pulled out if that's the case. Because to me, his body language didn't speak to me of someone who wanted to be in there. He protested the stoppage, but it didn't feel like he was in the fight mentally at any time. That's what I felt. You know, look, we've heard it all. Richard Schaefer telling us that we would rather see Mikey Garcia against Errol Spence rather than Terence Crawford. Mismatch. We'd rather see Sean Porter. Errol scrapes by Sean. We still want to see the Crawford fight. The Errol Spence fan base, they seem to think that him capsizing his sports card and coming back to beat Danny Garcia should give him extra kudos for his win. Well, okay. From the argument of legacy, the only fight Errol Spence could take that could justify him not fighting Terence Crawford was Manny Pacquiao, but obviously the eye retina injury he sustained from either the car crash or the Garcia fight wrote it off. So the next thing they're trying to sell us, to tell us that we shouldn't have no need to demand a Crawford fight, is UGAS for free belts. Well, UGAS isn't Crawford. Crawford is an elite talent. Elite talent. So I'm seeing all the muted celebration, and I call it muted because if you're an Errol Spence fan, you can celebrate all you like, but we've seen it before, haven't we? Okay, it's an extra belt. Fair enough. That's great. But we've seen it before. We know Errol Spence is a talent. We know he can beat the Sean Porters, the Danny Garcias, and dare I say, the UGASs. But can he beat Terence Crawford? You know, you guys are trying to pretend that Crawford isn't a special talent, but he is a special talent. I'm starting to understand Sean Porter a little more, of why he rates everybody above Errol Spence. It's because of the low blows, but Sean's not making excuses. That's not his style, is it? It's the low blows. He hit UGAS with a lot of low blows yesterday. I was watching, I said, damn. He was punching him on the thigh, nutsack, dick, wherever he could land them low. And he got away with it for the most part. I don't think he got cautioned once. He threw a lot. He threw a lot down there. And I guess he's going to do what he has to do to win. And if he can get a referee who's lenient to them tactics, that might be a gateway into him beating the likes of Terence Crawford. I hope Crawford's got the heads up. I'm sure he has. The only question now is if he's really serious when he says he wants Crawford next. I'm not so sure. Somehow, Stanionis and that fight is going to become a priority somehow. Somehow. The fan base is going to say, you got to clear up all the belts, man. You got to clear up the belts and then we fight Terence, you know? I'm not going to say UGAS was brought in to lose. I think I said that on the Hangout. That's not quite correct. But it was calculated. It was a cherry pick over the fight that he should have been taking, right? And he looked a little too compliant in there, UGAS. I don't know what happened to him. But then again, he should have knocked out Pacquiao. And he stopped letting his hands go when he could have had Pacquiao out of there. And there was a similar situation yesterday. In fact, the few times he did open up, he seemed to stun Errol Spence with his punches. And he had him hurt pretty badly once. And he didn't follow up. Well done, Spence. He beat up a guy who just stood right in front of him flat-footed, right? Didn't use his legs. Didn't pump his jab nowhere near the amount I thought he was going to pump it. So well done. You're a unified champion. I mean, you guys were so flat-footed, he made Spence look like he had fast feet. And Spence don't have particularly fast feet. But he made Spence look like he was gliding.
Don't believe the hype.
Now, this isn't me talking about defending the whole concept of no snitching by no stretch of the imagination. Yeah, I understand that Pro Bellum, MTK, and Top Rank are now complying and assisting or whatever body from the government in America with their investigations into Daniel Kinahan. I understand they are cooperating. I get it. But while MTK and Pro Bellum made what I would call template statements to the public, yes, we are compliant, we are cooperating with whatever authorities over this matter, and left it nice, short and sweet. Bob went one extra. He had to start ad-libbing, didn't he? Talking about how much he paid Daniel Kinahan for each fight since 2019 with Fury. Like basically giving the media more information than what they need. If he tells that to whatever authorities and cooperating, no problem at all, because that's confidential. That would be a confidential admission. But this guy has come out in public. Oh, we paid him $4 million for each fight, and Daniel told me that he's no longer involved in this. He used to be involved in this and that, but he's not involved in it anymore. And then to say he's no longer going to work with or credit Pro Bellum and MTK was just an act of, yes, self-preservation, but it shows what a nasty piece of work he is. Fair enough, you know, he threw Daniel under the bus. Everybody's did that. Paddy Barnes, Conlon, that's fair enough. Disassociating yourself, cool. But why is he trying to take down MTK and Pro Bellum? Now, I'm not saying they're squeaky clean. They know they had dealings with Daniel Kinahan. Just like Bob knows he had dealings with Daniel Kinahan. Why is he trying to take them down? Oh, I'll no longer work with them, like they're still dirty. They could have said the same thing about him. We're not going to work with Top Rank and we're not going to accredit Top Rank. But they didn't do that. They kept it short and sweet and kept it stepping. Bob's ad-libbing, throwing people under the bus. All the major promotional companies around the world are trying to do a little damage control in this situation. So, you know, they're making brief statements. Frank Smith, no comment, no comment, no comment. Pro Bellum made their statement. MTK made their statement. But because of Bob, they're having to work twice as hard. Pro Bellum had to make another statement. If Bob Arum is suggesting that Daniel Kinahan is an owner or shareholder in Pro Bellum, it's a claim that's baseless. They're having to protect themselves from Bob because Bob is a piece of shit. Listen, if he'd come in the public and say stuff like that, God knows what he would tell the authorities to sink someone's ship and save his own. RUIZ Bellotti was a prospect on Matchroom, good ticket seller actually, in 2017 when he beat and stopped Jason Cunningham. Now, after I see RUIZ get beaten, when was it? Probably 2019 against, was it Ray Ford on a Matchroom card? The prospect tag is gone. I don't think he's even been active since then. So Jason Cunningham has recovered from that stoppage, lost a few more times after that, and he's currently European champion. He's 31-6, 7 stoppages, and has beaten the likes of Gamal, Yafai, Brad Foster, and now the 16-0 Frenchman Terry Lecourvier. It was all left hooks to the body. From the first round he was landing them. Couvier just too crude, couldn't get inside, threw punches with his head wide up in the air. Cunningham was smooth, used his jab combinations and his range, picked his shots and picked him apart and knocked his man out with a left, well, would it be a left hand to the body. And Lecourvier, even though the referee stopped it, he quit. He was walking to his corner. He didn't even look back at Cunningham after the final knockdown. He was down around 4 times in all. One-sided fight. Just to remind you that BT did have a card on yesterday, and yeah, Jason Cunningham was headlining. He's currently ranked 14 by the WBO, 11 by the IBF, and Frank will obviously be putting in a word to get him higher up the rankings. So he's done remarkably well, and it just shows you can make improvements, you can work on your game, and you can come back from setbacks in boxing. I think the new blood of Ben Shalom and the old wiser head of Adam Smith will be a formidable challenge to Eddie Hearn. You know, they're trying to bring that family, this is your house vibe to the fans. Welcome to Sky sort of vibe. And like, I'm watching the Ultimate Boxer XX final between Ryan Charlton from Norwich. He came out in all pink to I'm a Barbie girl. What boxer does that? And Dylan Chima, an Asian boxer from Coventry, he came out with 2 men playing these Indian drums. and the crowd were really into it. I'm about to enjoy the final now. They're doing a very good job. And this is what Ultimate Fighter or prize fighter tournaments encompass. That family, domestic boxing, working class entertainment. And they're doing a very good job of this. Very good job. They were also savvy enough to put it on YouTube for free. While, no disrespect, Jason Cunningham fought in anonymity literally yesterday on BT. No one's talking about it. Obviously, they're talking about Conor BENN on DAZN. But that was a very shrewd move and a very shrewd promotion by Ben Shalom and Adam Smith. A lot at stake here. 40 grand prize money and a contract with Boxer XX on Sky. Ryan Charlton, very heavily muscled. He came all the way down from welter to 135. A little too crude, came in way too square. But he pushed the fight as hard as he could. And Dylan had to work hard for the victory. It was one-sided in a way, but competitive, if you get what I'm saying. But, you know, the left uppercut from Chima and the angles he created for his punches. He's got a lot to learn. He's very raw, you know, but he was longer rangier, has more natural ability. He's 5-0 with one stoppage, 25 years of age. He thoroughly deserved his win. A very entertaining final, and by all accounts, a very entertaining tournament. I think I only saw one fight. It was that where Chima stopped his opponent. I saw that one, and the final. Nobody believed that Van Heerden was going to beat Conor BENN. So I can't go too crazy on the victory. But the manner he did it was that, like, the third destructive stoppage we've seen over these veterans who did well against world-class opponents. The way he got his right foot outside the southpaw's left. Van Heerden made the mistake of backing to the ropes where there's nowhere to go. And that's where Conor is dangerous, isn't it? Like, if he gets you on the ropes from that crouching stance, Van Heerden didn't even see the right hand that caught him. Just bang, beautiful shot. Van Heerden had a few moments in the first round, but you know, he's a tall southpaw. Probably give most people a tough first round. Caught Ben a few times, but nothing flush from what I remember. And Ben was absolutely lethal in the finish after he landed that right hand. Lethal. Put my man's lights out. The question is now, not really much to say about the fight. It was lethal. Second round finish, not really much to say. The question is now, when people are saying he should fight this guy, he should fight that guy, is what do you do? Because we go back a couple of years when he was struggling with the French guy, Pernod. Nobody was saying who Ben should fight from who he shouldn't. He was viewed as a kid who was living off the name of his dad and nothing more than that. But Eddie's had to invest a lot to get him to where he is now. Wow, look at that. Ranked number 5 by all the sanctioning bodies. Now, I would like to see every fight on the table, and that's why I've started the acronym #Fighters Against Networks, Politics Removed. You can flip it either way as well. Fans against networks, politics removed. It works either way. Are we really going to see Conor in against Boots Ennis? I don't think Eddie's going to risk it. I don't think the PBC would release... Well, he's not with the PBC, Boots. But I'm not sure whoever he's with would release him to Matchroom on DAZN. I'm not sure if that would happen. I'm not sure if Frank Warren would let Avanesian cross over. No disrespect to Carl Greaves and the other guy, Neil, what's his name? I'm sick of the over-dramatic theatrics about, oh, they won't fight us, Conor won't fight us, when Frank is feeding David pure stiffs over there on BT. We all know either Eddie or Conor didn't want the fight, but you're going a little over the top with it. Just calm it down a little. I think Conor should challenge him for the European title. Let's get that straight. And Eddie could make that fight. Will he make it? I'm not sure. He's not going to fight Boots. He's not going to fight Virgil Ortiz. And I don't think they're going to fight him. Not because they're scared, but he hits a little harder than the likes of Mickinson. And nobody complained when Boots was fighting Van Heerden not too long ago. But when Conor's fighting him, a lot of people have got a lot to say, which is a bit hypocritical. A fight Eddie could make where he'd have options on Ben's opponent if Ben took a loss is Sandor Martin. He's ranked, number 4 by the WBO. Just defended his WBA international title. It's a risky fight though. We saw what he did with Mikey. He's a great boxer. He's very experienced though. 40 wins, 13 stoppages, and only 2 losses. Would Eddie risk it? There's a good chance Sandor might put an L on that record. But at this level here, there's a good chance he might lose to a numerous amount of opponents. Let's keep that real. But Eddie said, and we're going to hold Eddie to it, he said after this fight here, we're going to get the big name. But what does that mean? A big name could mean another veteran with a big name. That doesn't necessarily mean a younger live opponent who is still in their prime. But we'll see what he meant by that. You know, look, let's keep it real. They're looking for high profile names. They want a Khan. They want a Brook. Former world champions, washed up, but big names. That's what Eddie is really looking for. My choices in terms of just pure boxing would be David Avanesian or Sandor Martin. We've already discussed the network politics between BT and DAZN. Where does the fight go? Eddie's going to say that Conor's the bigger draw. Frank Warren's going to say, well, Avanesian is the European champion. Trying to make a Ortiz fight, then you got to go through Golden Boy, even though they're on the same network as DAZN. Who's the bigger draw? Same thing with Boots Ennis. Who's the bigger fight? Who's the bigger draw? Where does the fight go? All the usual bullshit politics. Hashtag fighters against networks. Politics removed. Sandor Martin, to me, is the most credible and the easiest one for Eddie to make. And that's possibly where he should be looking, in my opinion. Do not think of charging me pay-per-view for Conor Benn versus Amir Khan or Kell Brook. Not happening. Did Conor Benn call Khan in the ring? Or Ade? Khan put his arm around Ben, trying to pacify him. Yeah, we're here to see the champ. Just came here to see the boxing, you know. You know, the fight's local to him. It was in Manchester. Khan is from Bolton. More or less the same area. But, you know, in all fairness, Khan just got stopped. He's weighing up his options. There's no way he was just going to commit on the spot in front of thousands of people. And they booed him. Which was a bit harsh. Back in 2019, Eddie Hearn had to threaten Andy Ruiz with legal action after he signed a binding contract, which was apparently ironclad, to take on Anthony Joshua. He said the fight's not taking place in Saudi Arabia. But Eddie Hearn threatened him with legal action, and he found his ass over there, and AJ got back his belts. Andy has to remember what he's signed from what he hasn't signed. So after the announcement that Andy would be fighting Tyrone Spong on TRILLER in July, we were left wondering, well, what happened to his deal with the PBC? We didn't hear anything that Andy left the PBC or they released him. I'm sure a lot of us were interested in the details of what's happened there, and then the announcement came that the PBC have a deal in place for Andy to take on Luis Ortiz. And it appears that that fight is back in play. But is it though? To me, it would seem there's a lot of stuff that's unresolved with Andy and the PBC. For him to, maybe not him, but for it to be leaked out that he's fighting on TRILLER, what's going on? How much does Andy really want that fight? Because they can't physically force him into the ring. Obviously, they could take legal action if he tries to take another fight when he's contracted to fight Ortiz. But what's the point forcing him in there if it's not a fight he wants to take? What really would be the point of the PBC taking him to court? Like, okay, if he tries to jump ship and go on TRILLER, Matchroom, Top Rank, Pro Bellum, or anywhere else, yes, take him to court. If he's obligated to give the PBC more fights, take him to court. But if he doesn't want to fight Ortiz, why force him to take the fight? It's not like the AJ situation. Andy had just beaten him and took 3 belts off him. So, of course, Eddie was going to exercise that rematch clause. He wants them belts back. But he hasn't got anything for Luis Ortiz. He doesn't owe Luis Ortiz anything. Ortiz doesn't owe him anything. Maybe Andy needs another tune-up. Although it wasn't the last fight. Ariola's supposed to be the tune-up. Maybe he needs about 3 more before he fights Ortiz. Ortiz obviously pissed because if this fight happens, it will be a pay-per-view that in theory will do more than Charles Martin. But look, Andy came in grossly overweight for the AJ rematch. He's been inactive, 1 fight in the last 2.5 years or whatever it is now. The PBC have to understand that Andy is a bit of a head case. I've looked at this matchup potentially for a little while, and a lot of people say Andy can win it. Andy's not beating Luis Ortiz. He's not beating Luis Ortiz. I think it could be a tough battle. I think it will be a tough battle, but ultimately, can Andy get up for it? Can he get in top shape for it? I'm not sure about that. I just don't think he's reliable, and he was flawed by Chris Ariola. Chris can hit a little, No one was expecting Ariola to have him on the deck. He's been pretty inactive. Doesn't look like he's up for it. How did he get in a position that a fight with Tyrone Spong was announced? I don't think he's in a headspace for these big fights. It's just not reliable. Not consistent, not reliable.